Right, greetings everyone, and welcome to July. Actually, maybe it's not July where you are yet. Don't worry, it'll be here soon enough. Shoutouts to GDQ running this week. Games Done Quick, Speedrunners Marathon. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the best things in gaming, bar none. Go watch it. GDQ, pretty easy to find. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the new character, and for some people who have taken a look, is technically up on Wotv. You go into Wotv and try typing or just clicking on her. Some details appear, but other stuff doesn't work quite yet, so Wotv not working perfectly quite yet. I'm sure Bismarck will fix it, but in the meantime, don't worry, we're here to give you some detail. First off, always, or almost always, we'll show off this limit burst of this new character. Now, this is a character who hasn't appeared in the main story except in text. She has a story event, which will introduce her. I haven't done it yet, but it is available for us on JP. So there you go. There's what her limit burst looks like. Range on it, just for, detail's sake. If we look at this, we have her Trust Mastery, which is a critical avoid, accuracy up, defense, and high HP, with an ability on it that shell effect centered around self. 4 turns increases resistance to single target attack. No details on what the actual skill percentages are as of yet, but probably, shell is a given thing. It's just 4 turns now on this. And the single target resistance, I would imagine it's probably 25 at most. Maybe a little bit higher, but we'll see. So, this character, I've taken a peek at some details about her already, and she's looking pretty good. So let's switch over to my win team, which is mostly physical, but has Dario as well. But we'll get a good idea for what her stats are like compared to some other characters. I guess we'll show off Flag Glassy, because that's a 140, 106 speed, and as well Dario, for just comparison of what a tank looks like in this party. And here's her. Without reincarnations, her speed is up to general snuff. She has a pretty high magic stat, given that she's not in an incredibly focused magic party right now. 50 accuracy is pretty high. 25 single target resistance, 42 for AoE. Again, just to compare versus a tank here in the same party, 33 and 17. Seems pretty damn good. Again, things to note. Trust Mastery here is as such, as this is another unit that has the Hermes sandals on, giving a little bit of a not accurate impression of how this character's speed is. As for the weapon is 4 wind units, which is kind of nice. Any wind-based mages will be happy to have this, provided that they are in the correct weapon type. Which is the Black Mage weapon type. Magic attack up, as well as critical chance up, which is looking pretty good. Because this character is a offensive character, she does have some support skills too, but I think primarily what you're looking at is an offensive-based character that is better the further away the opponent is. If you can keep them kind of at a distance, she will do quite well. And taking a look at resistance, we have a bit of a surprise. This is the first character in the game to have natural curse resistance. So 50% curse resistance, 50% silence, 50% don't move resistance, and frog resistance from everything that is combined on her. And talking about just her damage type resistance is pretty good, except for strike. I'd say that this is pretty good overall. Again, if we were to take a look at a character like Dario, not quite as high as the lofty ambitions here, but pretty good overall, I think, for a mage-based character that is Again, really trying to do DPS. So next up, let's talk about her kit. Subjobs are Otodama, which, just glancing over that, move and jump up, confusion, guaranteed hit, inflict damage with a chance of stun. Those are the big things that we're kind of looking at from that one, as well as create barrier that reduces magic damage, which is kind of good because in her major part of her kit, she can reduce physical damage in, I think, like 1 or 2 ways. But having a option to be good against mages makes her kind of a little bit more feature-proof if mages become too. She also has Magic Swordsman, which deals a small dependent damage marge, reduces attack and magic power, so a little bit of debuffing there, increasing slash attack, so she's good on slash attack teams still, potentially. Destroys magic barriers, deals magic damage, XCE, and removes all buffs when a critical hit, which actually synergizes well with the fact that she does have a pretty critical hit chance from her weapon. Looking at master ability, debuff effect weakening for herself by 20, critical hit by 10, single target resistance by 10, and chance to immobilize up by 15, providing magic distance resistance effect is in effect, which is very likely to be here. Her limit burst destroys barriers that reduce magic damage and on up to 2 targets, extra large damage after removing effects that reduce magic damage. So her limit burst is quite strong, and I've already seen a demo of it. It is, in fact, a very powerful limit burst capable of dealing a good, like a very high amount of damage to characters that are even considered right now to be on the upper echelon of characters. So that's good news. Now, talking about her abilities, starting with counter, chance to perform a preemptive attack from getting a slashing or strike. This seems worse than some of the other characters we've seen recently. Not that she should be good at everything, but 2 specific damage types is way less good. Even with this having good range, the best thing to say here is that there are a lot of slashers in the game, which means that this will probably at least have decent opportunity, but it essentially, if she goes up against a mage team, counter is worthless for the most part, depending on the attack. Now, looking at her support skills, increase resistance to area attack and weak damage, as well as increase magic power, hit rate, and magic attack resistance penetration. This ability, more accuracy, more attack, dealing more damage. Good. Whereas her other one is essentially, preventing her from being debuffed and protecting her against AoEs, which is good. Now, we've talked about subs. We'll talk about what you have to give up in place. So first off, we have Slow Double. Deals 2 consecutive damages with target within range with a chance of slow 3 turns. Pretty nice. I wish a little bit well, no, I mean, it's double slow. It's basically what it is. But if it had 2 instances of casting slow, that would be amazing. This ability, heal yourself and an ally. Recovery of AP. I haven't seen this one used yet, but I think her healing is pretty decent with a pretty high magic stat without anything else. So this is just generally kind of nice to have in your back pocket. Also, recovering AP can never be undervalued, so quite good. And that brings us to her main kit, which is definitely going to, I think, impress people. First off, deal small damage, magic power up, to target, deal damage to 2 targets, basically another selector one, recovers some HP when incapacitated, and also looks to power up her own magic, which is quite nice. I think that is just generally pretty good, but the range is pretty low, so casting it kind of a last-ditch effort, but if it gets close to the end of the battle, could be that HP heal could be enough to make the difference. Next up is this one. Wall of Text ability grants the effect Lowering target's brave for 3 turns when an attack hits for 4 turns. Also grants the effect of reducing damage taken the further the attacker is away, up to a distance of 5. So basically Squall's honeycomb barrier on this one. And it is just reducing damage, so good against both physical and magical attackers. Grants the additional effect of absorbing HP when dealing damage, while under the effect of reducing magic damage the further the target is away. So this is kind of the linchpin of most of her kit, because you're getting not only this honeycomb effect, you're also getting, brave down on your opponents, and HP restore, but getting that honeycomb effect powers up so much of her kit. It activates status effect more often. Primary one, which is immobilize, which is really good for her because she keeps enemies at a distance. But also the HP heal with high-powered attacks and high-powered magic attacks is very, very juicy. Next up, this ability increases physical and magical damage to allies centered around self for 4 turns. Creates a barrier that prevents a certain amount of physical damage to self. So this is where Kododama would be the balancing act to that. This is 7,500 HP, and activates an additional damage when dealing damage with attack abilities for 4 turns. It's non-elemental. However, if her secondary attack does hit an opponent, it can remove haste and AP auto recovery, which are 2 of the strongest effects in the game. So is a absolutely great one. Basically running this plus this sets her up for entire matches at 8. Next up, this one reduces target's magic attack resistance for 3 turns, deals non-elemental damage, large, and absorbs a portion of the damage dealt. So even if she does get her ability removed, this ability can still recover her HP, which is very valuable. I think that there are a lot of characters out there that remove effects now. So having a backup plan means that you are essentially a little bit foolproof. Just a little bit, but still good. And this one, Distant Burst, increases the penetration rate of your own single target attack. Resistant for 3 turns, deals magic damage, large. It is likely to hit up to 2 targets. Power increases the further the target is away from self, and the distance. Also, there is an effect of don't move, so the target will not be able to move, or targets, I should say, will not move for multiple turns, as this is a select. She is a very, very strong-looking character with a lot of abilities. I like the fact that she has some non-elemental. Means that she is good, or at least better, into some matchups where she wouldn't be. I think that she has enough survivability to probably survive on her own quite well without needing anybody else. This might be the type of character where you just don't need a tank to protect her. She looks pretty damn durable. But even just stacking up here, she's a magic attacker who deals higher damage the further away, which is just generally better for her anyway. Hopefully her AI can figure that out, because that would make her even better. Greater the distance, greater the firepower and durability, demonstrates firepower with follow-up attacks and target piercing attacks too, which is very, very scary. Piercing type attacks are very, very strong. But curse resistance, as I've talked about before, I know that it's interesting because reading the YouTube comments, and people are like, curse is the biggest problem ever, and then other people are like, curse has never been a problem for me ever. The fact is that curse is going to become a more regular status effect. We know that Sephiroth has it, we know that Ice Veritas has it, and Adea from FF8 has it, which will probably be the next time that collaboration pops up, whenever that is. So taking a look at all of that, I would say that's really good. The biggest weakness is the lack of a barrier breaker in her main kit, which almost kind of necessitates for a damage dealer like this to run with a barrier breaker. Or the other thing is that you will need to almost always guaranteed to be running a magic swordsman, because that does have the actual ability of breaking magical barriers. I mean, you could partner up with other characters or whatnot, but I think that this character is quite the well-made character. She looks incredibly strong for a character that we've never seen before, and it's not unusual for Wotv characters to be this good, but I think that this is on the, just another really, really strong character who's going to be very good for different teams and whatnot. Where she ends up, I'm going to be very curious. Just talking really quickly about something else I noticed was with Peachins. I want to just bring that up real quick. Peachin, and I'm not going to show this video, I'm just going to talk about it real quick. Peachin has been already theoretically testing a bunch, or theory crafting a bunch of different ones. With her, plus Dario, the new Dario, of course, and Sephiroth for being quite strong. The other teams that she's been looking at is some combination of Oldoa, Helena, Vivi, and her. So obviously there's one odd one out, depending on who does the best. There's also just traditional mono wind, which includes Wind Veritas as well as Fly Glassy, although that one is considerably less interesting to me because of the fact that I think just look at that and it's not the best for her. There's also combinations that she's looking at in potentially putting with Ice Jaden, which is very, very weird, but I'll be interested to see if that ends up being a thing. Because of, I guess, multi-element? I don't even know. Ice, Jaden, Flag Glassy, and her. And another party that is being looked at already is Cloud, Spring Joom, and her. So I think that there are already a bunch of interesting theory crafts that are going to be happening with this character. And hopefully she ends up doing quite well for herself, because she's looking very promising. So anyway, that's the grand tour. Next time we'll show off her in battle. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.